Thank you for attending the Cannabis Investor Webcast. Our platinum sponsors for today's webcast is Med Cannabis Pharma Incorporated, Naturally Splendid Enterprises Limited, Cabinet Grow Incorporated, Medical Marijuana Incorporated, Lexeria Corp., Future World Incorporation. Please reserve the date of May 23rd through May 25th, 2016 for the Canna Publicly Traded Companies Investor Analyst Media Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. The website is cannainvestorconference.com. Again, cannainvestorconference.com. Our next presenter today is John DeLue, Director of Sales for Helix TCS.
All right, my name is John DeLue, Director of Sales for Helix TCS. Also with me is Ryan Valdez, who's also a Director at Helix as well. Helix TCS stands for Technology, Compliance, and Security. Okay, so Helix TCS, Technology, Compliance, and Security. The company was founded by former law enforcement and military. That includes myself. I was 27 years, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. We're led by our CEO, Zachary Venegas. Zach was a West Point grad. He was a former Army Ranger, and most recently worked on Wall Street. He heads up our operations and has a lot of relationships worldwide in the security industry. Grant Whitus, our Director of Operations and Training. He was a retired sergeant, 26 years at Jefferson County. He was also the West Metro SWAT team leader for the last 7 years of his career, with a total of 15 years on SWAT. I told you about myself, 27 years Jefferson County. Along with that, we have a whole lot of other decorated military and former law enforcement personnel. And the reason we founded Helix, most of us worked at another cannabis security company. We wanted a company that was founded, run, and owned by former law enforcement and military personnel. That's what we have here at Helix. Together we have over 100 years of combined experience in the field, and there's no security company more knowledgeable in the cannabis arena than we are. So to go through the TCS part of our company, technology, it's our goal to bring new technology to the cannabis arena. What we provide is, we obviously provide armed and unarmed security. We do transportation of product and cash, and we have technology solutions. So we'll talk about the technology solutions first. What we're developing is a fully compliant courier software. What that means is, with our partnerships with seed-to-sale software companies, along with a company that does bank reporting software, we put together technology to provide courier software that has real-time military-grade GPS tracking. And what we've done is we're integrating that with the software from the seed-to-sale, along with the bank reporting software. We add to that our proprietary procedures for moving the product in the cash, and what you have is a fully compliant courier software that any company can use, whether you're hiring a courier or moving the product yourself or having us move it, to get full reporting with the goal of getting legitimate banking, which, as everybody knows, is the biggest challenge in the industry today. And like I said, I also have Ryan Valdez with me. Ryan has probably moved more product in cash than just about anybody in the nation. So at the end, if you have any questions on that, he'd be your man to ask about that.
Good morning, everybody.
The C in TCS is compliance. We provide compliance investigations. These compliance investigations are not only designed to ensure state compliance with local and state regulations, they're also designed to meet federal regulations as it regards to banking. And we do these compliance checks for banks so they can ensure that their customers are legitimate customers and feel more comfortable in allowing them to have full legitimate line of banking. So our compliance checks not only check state regs, we go through and meet any FinCEN guidelines. FinCEN stands for the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Any FDIC requirements, and quite a few elements of the Bank Secrecy Act and the Know Your Customer clause of the Bank Secrecy Act. That's probably the most valuable part of our compliance checks, because the bank's biggest challenge is meeting those elements of the Bank Secrecy Act to keep those regulators happy. We can do that. These compliance checks tie in with our banking partners and with our seed-to-sale software partners to provide a complete compliance check so the bank can feel comfortable in providing these. Typically, we do these every 3 to 6 months for the banks. The cost is minimal in the grand scheme of things. We can talk about costs later. They'll vary from state to state depending on how much labor is. The most important part of the compliance investigations is it protects the client's most valuable asset, which is their license. You lose your license, you're out of business. So we are the eyes and ears of the industry. No one else can do what we do because we have guards in place. We do compliance investigations. We move their product. We move their cash. And with that, the bank feels much more comfortable having us around, knowing that this client is fully compliant. Because if they're not compliant, not only will the bank find out, but the state regulators will find out as well if they don't get the problem corrected. Anything to add, Ryan?
The only thing I have to really add on to that is to stress the importance of not losing that license. In this industry, once you lose that, it's almost impossible to gain your way back in as a foothold, just because of how competitive this industry is. Usually once somebody's on the outside, it's very hard to gain entrance right back in. So the compliance is, bar none, the key to this industry.
All right, security. So we have a great model. It's a proven model. It works very well. So we hire almost exclusively, not entirely exclusively, former law enforcement and military personnel. And then with our training background, we send them through the 40-hour Helix TCS boot camp. And what does that involve? What does that mean? Well, a lot of these military personnel have a whole lot of training. We look at their DD-214 and look at their training history and what they did in the military. It's not just enough to be in the military. We don't want a clerk typist from the military. We want somebody that received some significant training and actually saw action. So we take that. It's the highest training available. It's led by Grant Whitus, who is a former SWAT officer from Jefferson County. He led the team at the Columbine High School shooting. He also led the team at the Platte Canyon High School shooting, and the bulldozer incident in Granby, Colorado, where the guy was bulldozing the town with an armored bulldozer. So he led that, among other things. Along with him, we have Phil Baca. He's a former Jefferson County deputy and a former SORT officer. SORT stands for Special Operations Response Team. It's basically the SWAT team for the jail side of things. And they received the same training as a SWAT officer as well. And then along with them, we have Joaquin Baca. He's a former Lakewood PD agent, which is one of the most respected agencies in Colorado and across the nation. He is a post-certified NRA instructor. He's also a black belt in 2 disciplines and actually trains MMA fighters. So the key to our security is all our guards are also obviously trained on the usual things, security and firearms. Our biggest thing is customer service, because they're the first person that any customer sees. So we have customer service. They're friendly. They're helpful, but they also give your staff and your customers the feeling that they're well protected while they're inside your business. Everyone's trained on checking IDs. That's all taught by law enforcement as well. The state regulations, ID verification, and then we also take, not only is everybody trained in firearms with a full NRA firearm certification, we take that a step beyond everybody, and we do what we call simulations trainings and training them on close combat techniques, which was developed after the Columbine shooting and the response. The response at the Columbine shooting was poor. The cops basically responded how they were taught. You secure the perimeter and wait for SWAT. The close combat techniques were developed after Columbine, in part by our leader, Grant Whitus, to basically respond better to shootings like that. So we go through that. They use airsoft gas-powered pellet guns, and we actually go through training, because it's one thing to shoot at a target while you're standing still. It's another thing to put someone in a stressful situation and to see how they respond and act. So when we say our training's above everybody, it is, and for good reason. Most important part of our security is we have guards on site. They're the eyes and ears of the owners. The owners are the busiest people in the industry. Everybody knows that. They can't be there watching their business. They're relying on their managers. Sometimes their managers are great. Sometimes their managers aren't. But if there's a violation, if things aren't going right at the dispensary or the grow or the MIP, wherever we're at, the owners will be the first to know. And our clients love us for that. I'll tell you that. We've uncovered thefts of cash. We've alerted them to their employees using product in the bathrooms on their breaks, using on-site after work, and numerous other things. Anything to add, Ryan?
I think just to touch back on the customer service side of things, while we do absolutely have the highest trained guards, regarding the shooting side of the course, our guards are taught, of course, that it is something that is okay to do to protect yourself and the client at any means. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily the first go-to. We teach our guards how to de-escalate situations and handle them with a very level head. So just because they're armed, they're not a trigger-happy guard by any means. It's definitely a last result. So we just like to give the customers that sense of security.
Right. So yeah, one of the things we've been successful in is taking the law enforcement side and teaching these young military guys how to apply that to civilian life. So with that are the rules of engagement in civilian life, not in a military background, and the level of force needed to suppress the situation, which all law enforcement are bound by. So we apply that, of course, in our training academy, and it's been very successful. In addition to, we're obviously, our headquarters are here in Colorado. We are partnering nationwide through partnerships with prominent security firms and courier firms as well for the transportation side of things. So I'm going to cover what our partnerships entail in case anybody has an interest, or if you know of a security firm that maybe they're good guys but they need a level of training above what they're capable, we can provide that. So we're seeking, Helix TCS, seeking partnerships with security firms and courier firms nationwide. What we've done is, as you know, this business is all about relationships. So through our seed to sale software partnerships, along with the banking partner relationships, we've developed a system where it's basically a seed to bank system, if you will, to provide our partners, giving them a lot of things that they wouldn't have. It's one thing just to do security and transport, it's another thing to offer the full package. So it all starts with the marketplace, developing B2B, business-to-business, cloud-based marketplaces for people to buy and sell their product. That's where we come in, along with the seed-to-sale software, and it ties in with that. We all, you know, they're legitimate businesses. They've already done their due diligence on them. They click transport, and Helix TCS or our partners come into play. At the dispensary side, you have, for as far as the money transactions are concerned, the banks want the money out of the hands of the dispensary. So that's where the kiosk system is being developed and perfected, along with not just a kiosk, but mobile tablets for the bud tenders and things. It's just for a place to hold the cash. That cash stays in the kiosk. It's not in the hands of the dispensary owners. Why is that important? A, the bank keeps the bank happy, for one. For two, it completely eliminates the theft of cash by your employees, which is a big concern in a lot of areas across the United States. All of those transactions tie in with the point of sale software and the seed to sale software, along with county records, tax records. That develops all the transactional data, which goes to our banking partner, and they use analytical data to show the bank that this business is on the up and up, nothing's going out the back door, and such, so the bank will feel comfortable giving you a full service bank account versus versus what a lot of people are just doing in cash or a closed-loop payment system, which really isn't ideal. Obviously, the logistics is what we do. No one moves cash or product better than we do. Our two main trainers on the Armor team, directors at our company, like I said, they move more cash and product than anybody. Tied in with that is a revenue stream for our partners, or the compliance validation or investigations for our banking partners, along with cash vaulting, cash processing, and eventually our goal will be to get to the money, the Federal Reserve, as well for the banks. Anything to add?
Yeah, I'd like to speak on partnerships outside of revenue sharing or anything financial related to our company. As John had said, this industry is very much about the relationships and about the networking. And where we are in Helix, we are very much a goodwill company. So I would just ask that if you're in the industry already, if you're looking to get into the industry, just please keep us in mind. If you have any questions, regarding what you need to do to secure anything, or if you need any product connections on wholesale or anything like that, we have a very large and expansive network that we're tapped into. So like I said, just based on the goodwill networking side, if there's anything that Helix can do for you, I just ask that you keep us in mind and reach out if you have any questions on that.
Okay, this is basically just a flow chart on the marketplace flow. It's similar to what we just covered. Yeah, everything is tied to banking. Along with the banking, you have sellers and buyers. That's where the B2B exchanges in the cloud come in very handy. We know people that they look for product. They're not on a B2B. They have somebody full-time that's making 150 calls a day looking for product. It's much easier to just go in the cloud, see what it has, look at the ratings, look at the reviews, and buy it, and then they don't have to worry about the cash transactions or the delivery, because Helix takes care of that for you. We do that in combination with our partners, along with our logistics software. And if there's ever a question of how that product was moved, who it came from, what's the history of the product, we're providing all that for not only the client, but for the banking partners as well. So what is a partnership with Helix TCS come? We're looking for security and logistics providers to provide a full range of services, anywhere from armed and unarmed security, transportation of product and cash, compliance investigations, electronic surveillance. We also offer HR and PEO services through one of our partners as well. And we also have HVAC referrals, as everybody in the industry knows, is becoming with all the local jurisdictions coming up with more stringent requirements on the HVAC systems. Those get into high dollars. We have a great partner that does it better than anybody. We're talking laboratory quality HVAC systems. Anybody that's a partner, of course, becomes a partner with us, and all those relationships that we've developed become your partners as well. Helix will provide full training. So we come in, it's a training from A to Z, all the way from how to best do the security, how to move the product in cash, how to do the compliance investigations, and everything you need to run your business in the cannabis sector, because obviously we have a very good reputation. We want all of our partners to have that same reputation because they're running under the Helix name. Like I said, we have a number of states we're looking for partners in. Some are tied up, some are not. So if you have an interest in, or you know somebody that has an interest, please have them contact us to look into those states. This is what our courier dashboard, it's going to look something like this. Obviously, the nice part about the courier software is not only does it tie in with the seed to sale software, it ties in with the bank reporting. It also ties in with automatic billing through QuickBooks. So as long as the parameters are set, you do a run, all the billing and everything is automated into QuickBooks, so you don't have to spend a lot of time preparing your invoices and sending those out. It's all automated.
And this software will automatically generate metrics and banking data. So when the banks choose to audit or they need your financial information, that isn't something that you're going to have to necessarily keep track of yourself. It's something that will be stored in a database and it will be on demand right there. It's just a service that's automatically provided with So it alleviates a lot of your bookkeeping stresses on that end as well, keeping you fully compliant and within banking regulations and guidelines.
Yeah, this software is going to be the first of its kind that we know of across the United States. And really has to do with developing those relationships, and that's what we've done to really provide everything you would need on the transportation. The app can be white labeled for your company, so it'll look like it's your software, and that comes with the cost of the software. They said fully compliant cash and product transportation software. Anybody that's in Colorado and a lot of these other states that are popping up, the biggest problem the regulators, not only the state regulators, but the DEA and the Federal Marshal's Office have, is how the product's being moved and product showing up where it's not supposed to be. When I said the military-grade GPS tracking, we're saying it's military-grade GPS tracking. It's like the stuff you see on TV. They can pull up on satellite, and we could even go so far as if you stepped off the sidewalk or made one wrong turn, our command center is going to know about it. And like I said, integration with seed to sale software, giving you a full reporting suite.
Yeah, to kind of expand on the dashboard section, essentially what you get with that is if you have a website, it essentially will mirror that. You'll also be able to link and show your website on that white label. So if you're a dispensary, you'll be able to post your specials on there for the day. Customers and other clients will be able to go immediately and check that. It's basically a one-stop shop for a marketplace.
One of the things that Transportation by Helix provides is just about anybody can move your product. What we do is stress the customer service aspect. So when we move your product, we're basically your company representative. And everybody's inviting to us. We'll talk about your company. We'll tell them about your products, maybe something new you had, drop off samples, things like that. So it's a step above any other transportation system. Let's talk a little bit. One of the things a partnership brings is your ability to do these compliance assessments. Of course, we fully train on that. This compliance assessment was designed to meet federal banking guidelines. It also meets state regulations as well. That's a lesser component because what the banks want to know is, A, are you meeting state regs, but more importantly, are you meeting the elements of the FinCEN guidelines, the Cole memo, and FDIC elements, and the elements of the Bank Secrecy Act. Our compliance audit does that, and it's more complete than anything you'll find out there. As far as the partnership, this is actually one of the higher margin things that we do, and it could be very profitable for a company just to do these compliance investigations. Imagine if the bank wants a compliance investigation every 3 months and they have 400 banking partners, the revenue on that would be significant. Also involves a security assessment program. It's used to do bank compliance checks, ensures state regulation compliance, and it's designed, most importantly, to meet all the federal banking guidelines that I mentioned before. Cole memo, FDIC guidelines, FinCEN guidelines, and the Bank Secrecy Act, which is that's the most difficult part of the federal guidelines for a bank to show why they're banking that customer. And like I said, this also comes with a custom white label for the absent form, so if you're a partner, it's going to show up with your company's name.
I also think that what's big about following these federal guidelines is there is an alternative banking solution out there. It's called a thrift. For those of you who aren't aware, it's basically a privately owned bank, and they operate independently of regulations. The problem with that is that there is a group out there called Safe Street Alliance, and they're trying to get these thrifts shut down. It's not necessarily something that they're finding is easy to do legally, but they're slapping RICO cases on these thrifts. And while it's not necessarily going to legislation, it's scaring away partners and making business difficult for these people. So these banking relationships and these federal guidelines that we're developing to fall in compliance with is more key now in this industry than ever.
Yeah, like I said, these banking relationships are legitimate, fully recognized cannabis banking relationships. not unlike what most of the industry is doing in Colorado, where they create a fake LLC and they're in the florist business or whatever and hiding, and then they eventually get their bank account shut down. I've actually had clients with 45 accounts shut down in Colorado. It's our goal to avoid that and make you a legitimate business. So what does a partnership bring? The banking cash transport, marijuana, obviously, there's to cash industry, millions of dollars in cash a month. That's going to require someone to move that cash, to handle, to process, and count the cash. That all generates revenue for our partners. You'll receive a percentage of the cash handling fees for the cash processing centers that we do, along with numerous other revenue shares that we provide. We also provide HR PEO services. We'll share that revenue 50-50 with our partners. We have advertising monitors that we place in dispensaries. We place them for free on an open loop system, or we can do a custom closed loop system customized to the customer's needs. Any that obviously generates advertising revenue. We share that 50-50 with our partners as well. Software packages includes the dispatch system, order tracking, order status, order tracking. It includes the invoicing, the Bank Secrecy Act reports, custom compliance forms, tracking software, Android apps, Apple apps, all your dashboards, analytics, everything you expect on a software package. It includes the business-to-business websites, business-to-customer websites, which is going to be important, especially in Nevada, tracking for the cultivators, for the kitchens, the labs, the couriers, security companies, and banking compliance. We talked a little bit, all the revenue streams. Revenue from the business-to-business transactions, cash vaulting and handling. Obviously, if you do it providing armed and unarmed security, that's a revenue source. The bank reporting, electronic security, surveillance and cameras, transportation of the product in cash, training other firms as a revenue stream, HR and PEO service, and the HVAC referrals, and several others we're developing and haven't mentioned yet. That wraps up our presentation. We'd love to answer any questions about what we do, about partnerships, or anything else, any other questions you might have.
Well, thank you, John. The first question is, what are the major hurdles and obstacles you see in your business?
The major hurdle, really there's the biggest hurdle, the most major hurdle is developing those banking relationships. We do have a partner that does that for us, but it's not easy, and it really takes a lot of education on our banking partners' part to get the banks to buy in, for them to realize that their bank reporting software is going to keep them safe from the regulators. So that's probably the biggest hurdle. The second, I wouldn't call it an obstacle, but one of the biggest issues in the industry is dealing with all that cash. And then obviously the cost of moving cash. Everybody who's familiar with moving cash, handling cash, dealing in cash knows there's a cost to it. The banks don't want cash. That's why we're here to help, and we're trying to ease that burden as much as possible.
I also think another one of the obstacles we have, especially, is Helix. We're not a single state company. We're looking to push outwards across the United States. So when you start pushing into these outlying states that don't have any business plans or any type of rules or regulations developed, the big hurdle with that is dealing with local and state laws, because it's different from place to place, and finding a common middle ground for which we can, get this into the state and get the state on a compliance level. So we actually have been working closely with several other states, and this is something that we're at the forefront of right now. So I would absolutely recognize that is another issue is all these states start voting it in and coming online.
Okay, so this next question is probably from the same person. See, what are some of the advantages? Would it be state and federal regs would require cannabis providers to have your type of services? Is that sort of the advantage?
Yeah, the advantage with with us is we assume pretty much 100% of the liability. We're a level of insulation for your company, so we handle all the guidelines, we handle all the compliance sides of it. So we try to alleviate that headache on the customer side. So definitely the advantage you get with us is, you know, we self-insure a lot of this stuff, and we take a lot of that responsibility onto ourselves to keep our clients insulated from any troubles they may have.
And another advantage, at least with the partnership with Helix, is the relationships that we built. So you're going to get handed leads from the seed to sale software companies. You're going to get handed leads from the banking partners that we have. You could even get leads from the HVAC, from the HR and PEO services. We're also developing a relationship with a company that does OSHA training. And anybody that's had a grow that's ever had OSHA come in knows that those violations add up very quickly. So we have a relationship with that as well, and it's a two-way street. We refer people to her, she'll refer people to us. So it's really developing a business by cold calling is very difficult. What we're giving is handed relationships from all of our partners, making developing your business quickly much easier.
Yeah, and especially out in Colorado with this industry being so well established and inundated with people right now, it's really hard for people to come in on the ground level and develop those relationships. A lot of people are very loyal to those relationships, and in order to branch outwards and bring more people into that circle, we pride ourselves on being able to network that and make it easier for people to make those connections and kind of get off the ground quicker than it would be if you're basically just trying to feel your way through the dark on this.
Next question, and you guys touched on this earlier, but investors, if they want to invest in your company, these is one of the common questions: is your business scalable? I think you guys touched on that about expanding to other states, but can you touch on that? Is your business scalable?
Absolutely. We, like I said, Colorado's home. I can tell you we already have a relationship, a partnership in several states. We are looking for partnerships currently in the Northwest, so Washington, Oregon, down just south of us, New Mexico and Arizona. And then, of course, East Coast is just now popping up, and we're looking for New England relationships as well as several others in the Baltimore area as well. So yes, it is scalable anywhere where there's legalization. They all have the same problems. It doesn't matter if it's recreational or medical. The business model is pretty much exactly the same. They all have the same problems. It's a cash business. They worry about their security. They worry about moving their product in cash, and every one of them wants a legitimate banking relationship, which is what we bring to the table.
So, John, when you talk about partnerships, are you talking about franchising?
It's not a franchise, it's a partnership. So it's a partnership with the revenue shares. So they will give us a portion of their revenue for using the Helix name and receiving all of our training and support. And then in return, we would give them a 50-50 revenue share that we receive from all of the partnerships we've developed as well.
And we're not looking to assimilate or swallow up other companies. We want them to remain in control of their own identity. Basically, we look at partnerships as mutual benefit, with the referrals, with the revenue streams. Like I said, a company remains 100% independent in its identity. There's no rebranding or franchising.
Yeah, so they would keep their company name, and they would just recognize with their company name they're a Helix TCS partner powered by Helix, things like that. So the industry knows that they've been trained. It immediately gives them the reputation that they're the preferred people to deal with in their state.
Okay, so I guess this next question is regarding your competitors. They list a couple of publicly traded companies here, and I think they list the publicly traded companies because they have access to the capital markets. So that means they can expand and grow using public funding. So they say competitive. What are your competitive advantages over Blue Line Protection Group? And I think this is Homeland Security. You guys are familiar with those companies?
Yes. Yeah, we're quite familiar with Blue Line. Many of us work there. The advantage is we are in control of everything. So Blue Line, there's a lot of shares outstanding. They're a good company. I'll just say that off the bat, but they can't do the things we can do. So we do have plans to take this company public as well. Right now it's private. We're going to grow our base and grow our partnerships first. And once we have those, but as far as the advantages, as far as raising the money, our CEO is Zach Venegas. Like I said, he's a West Point grad, but most recently ran a hedge fund on Wall Street and is very well connected in that area. So raising money for Helix is not an issue whatsoever.
Yeah, and to speak more directly about Blue Line, they 100% specialize in transportation and security, where that's just an aspect of what we provide. It's not all-encompassing. I think we make a larger push towards the technology and software. Our big thing as Helix is we're essentially looking to be kind of the glue that holds the industry together. We want to provide the network and the connections while still providing these other services as well. So just to kind of distill it down, Blue Line is a specialty security shop, and we're, like I said, more all-encompassing with a emphasis on software.
Okay. Next question. Do you think Brinks and other big security will come into the space when feds legalize? How do you plan to compete, or do you become an acquisition target at that point?
They're actually currently providing services out here for cash transportation. It's not something that I think they are necessarily concerned with grabbing a large piece of right now. I think it's more of a trial period for them. And with us, definitely, we provide better rates than them. They generally charge a higher monetary rate just because, you know, some of them have a century of experience behind them. So they're not really much of a force right now. I don't really see them being much of a force right now, especially because they have a lot of federal contracts, and to cross over onto this side, it does almost provide jeopardy for them. So whether they're going to be a big element in the cannabis industry, I don't see that. I see it being more of, you know, the Helixes, the Blue Lines, the Canna Rabbits, etc.
And part of the, like right now, there's a couple of companies moving cash in the industry. Guard is probably the most prominent in Colorado. But most of the clients want that personal relationship from a company like us versus a big corporation where they don't get the customer service that they want. And that's what our guards do. It's what our transport guys do. The guys that move the product in cash are the best of the best we have. And then, of course, they get additional training from law enforcement, not only on reacting, on driving, defensive driving. They're being taught by certified, post-certified, law enforcement certified driving instructors. And it's going to be tough for a company like that to actually teach the responses that we can teach, and then still provide that customer service aspect that you know, when you show up, they actually want you there, and they're happy they're there versus let's get them out as quickly as possible.
And the other thing is, I don't want this to come off like I'm defaming them, but they don't have the same hiring standard we do. They will pretty much hire primarily civilians. It's very rare that we run into any with military or law enforcement backgrounds. So with us, you get a higher caliber of transporter with it as well. As John said, you have a higher level of training. It just generally a higher level of service while paying a fraction of the cost.
Somebody made a comment here, great management team. I think the reason they made that comment is in the cannabis industry, it's no historical, so it's a brand new industry. So a lot of investors are, you know, they pay attention to who's on the management team and their experience. So I guess that's why this person made this comment. You guys already
to add that. Yeah, sorry, okay. To add to that real quick. You know, the things we covered, for instance, Zach Venegas, besides all of his other qualifications, sits on the board of directors of Tiger Swan. You look them up, they're one of the most well-respected security firms anywhere in the world. So when we say, yeah, when I like the comment or the compliment on the management team because we think it's second to none.
Next question that you guys already answered it. Do you plan on going public? That would be the exit strategy for early investors. And you guys did answer that question. Next question. What does revenue growth look like going forward? What does margins look like?
Margins in the beginning, we're only, we're a new company, so we've been in business since April, really just gearing up operations now. I can tell you that our revenue next month over this month will probably be 300 to 400% higher because we're not only growing organically through my connections and my sales team's connections, but we're growing through acquisition. So between the two, revenue and profits will come. It took Blue Line, actually they're still not profitable. Well, it was there, although the revenue is up significantly. So growing the revenue, getting the margins up is always the biggest challenge with any business. But we see that going forward to be, we see that future to be bright.
Yeah, if it gives you any idea, it took Blue Line about a year to be post-revenue. We reached post-revenue within a few months. So we're very aggressive about how we're going after this and how we're acquiring those contracts and those margins.
Okay.
Just a quick note before we have to close, we will be at the Cannabis Summit here in Denver next week. We'll also be down at Arizona at the end of the month, and we will be in Vegas next month. Come and see me.
Okay. Last question. How much do you need in funding, and what is the minimum investment, and what will it be used for?
Is that in regards to just buying into the industry? Is that just a general question for starting a dispensary or a grower, or is that in regards to kind of getting in with Helix?
Well, I think the question is, somebody, I guess they're figuring you guys are going to do a private placement.
Yeah, so I would leave, right now Zach coordinates all of our funding. So if you have an interest, my contact information is there on the screen. I answer for the most part anywhere from 7 a.m. Denver time to 9 o'clock p.m. Denver time. Give me a call or give me an email, and I'll introduce you to Zach and let him handle those questions because that's kind of his forte.
Okay, well that concludes our Q&A. Any last comments on Helix?
We're just here to, like I said, to kind of bring the network together, to bring the community together. We're just all about the relationships, and we would love to have anybody's business who has interest in it.
And thanks for having us. Well,
thank you. We really appreciate you guys coming on and presenting.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, guys.